that we had to walk to school.
Yeah.
And it's
Up-
4 miles
Up
back.
through the hills of wooded area. It was a shortcut. It was 2 miles if you went around by the road, but you could cut off a half a mile by going almost by going a shortcut, a path up through the woods.
And you had connections, so they let you start school when you were 5. You got to go to school when you were 5, weren't you?
Huh?
You started early.
You got to go
Oh,
when you were 5.
I started when I was 5.
Because you had connections that allowed
And
you to go.
we had old slates to write on, you know,
With chalk?
chalk in the slate, yeah, boy.
All the same, all grades in the same room?
No, first through the 5th grade was in one room, and the 6th, 7th, and 8th was in another room.
And where'd the others go?
I believe that's right. It might have been just the 7th and the 8th in the other room, in the
Was there another school?
first through the 6th room.
Or is that as far as schooling went there, or did they have another school for the high school? Or is that as high as the schooling went?
That's high as it went there in that school.
You could only get 8th grade
It wasn't
education.
anymore. That was that school up there, Crowell, where the church is. The school's gone.
That's all you were expected to do is go through the 8th grade and then
Yeah.
you were finished.
That's all. That's all you could get up. That's all you could get up
You
there.
had to move somewhere in Board to go to high school.
If you went to school beyond there, you had to go to Scotts Hill or Lexington.
And board with somebody. I remember hearing stories about that. They'd have to go board with somebody to go to high school. So that was a
you
case
had to
of-
go to. The bus ran for some of the kids that take them to Scotts Hill to the high school. The
So
bus,
you could go by bus.
yeah,
didn't have
you
to
could
board.
go on the bus. There wasn't a bus that ran that I can remember then. Yeah, they had there. I guess there was too.
So how many students were in this room where you were?
Total in all the classes there was no more than 20.
Were you all in the same room or was it
All
sectioned
in
off?
the same room. The first grader primer, they called it. They had a row of desk over for the primer. They had a row of desk for the first grade, a row of desk for the second grade, and they probably wasn't that many. Some of the rows that ran back with a desk, you had 2 people sitting at a desk, it's an old desk about that.
Did the older kids help teach the younger kids? Surely one teacher couldn't do it all.
No, I had a teacher for that room, and that was my cousin Kathleen, and they had the principal of the school taught 7th and 8th grade in the other room, and we had a hall in between, and had a stove in there that they could cook on. And Henderson County started their lunch program, and Miss Bess Sykes, I'll never forget, Miss Bess Sykes was the cook, and she came in there and made soup every day. And you took your bowl and spoon with you to school, and they'd serve you soup, and sometimes they'd have, you had to take your own drink. And sometimes they'd give you a little box of raisins
Did you have to
that the
take your
county
bowl
had
home?
passed out to them.
So you had to take your own bowl and your own spoon from your house?
Did you
Yeah.
take it home and wash it and bring it back the next
Oh,
day?
they wash
So
it.
you'd leave it there, it'd be
You'd
your bowl.
leave it there, and it'd
They'd
be
wash it.
washed.
Okay.
Was it different soup every day? Like you just had soup every day?
Well, it was mostly vegetable soup. Look,
Okay. They just add another vegetable,
Yeah.
keep it going.
they'd, sometimes it tastes a little different, they'd add something or take something out, but
What would you take to drink?
I took milk,
Okay.
and I'd take it in a pint jar, and, it dug a big hole out, about that deep, out at, where the pump, there was an outdoor pump, water pump,
Mm-hmm.
and they pumped that full of water, and they set your
milk.
your fruit jar full of milk down in there to keep it cool. And at recess, somebody would go out there and pump some more fresh water in it.
That's the good old days right there.
I remember I came up, I don't know how I got a hold of it. I had a little bottle, I think it was a whiskey bottle, but it was shaped like a guitar. And I used to take sometimes I'd take
It's
my
a
milk.
whiskey bottle, probably.
And I'd take my milk in that. But I'd take milk and bread sometimes to eat for lunch, already mixed up in a pint jar. What else did we take for lunch? We didn't have any. They'd have cooked bacon or something like that, ham. Didn't call it bacon back then, they called it side meat, or middling. And you take that in a biscuit. Sometimes it'd take, my grandmother would make what we call chocolate gravy, you remember that? And you'd put that in a biscuit and take it. Or an fried egg in a biscuit.
You know how to make
The
that
biscuit-
now. You know how to make chocolate gravy now. I'd like to have some.
I can probably make it, but I don't remember how it's made. You take cocoa and put it in with, I don't know if they mixed it with milk or water or what, but anyway.
So how many kids your age
The recipe
were in
for
the
chocolate
school
gravy.
while you were there? Like
They-
if there were 20 in
No,
there,
they might have been 3 or 4.
okay, of each grade.
Yeah. In the 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Now as they got older, you'd have a few more. Probably in first grade, they might have 3 or 4.
Okay.
Second grade would be about the same. Kids, they didn't run a bus there to that school. You either walked from the communities around, or some of them rode mules in there, or horses, and tie them to a tree out there and ride them home, man. But the older
ones,
one.
yeah.
Was it always uphill both ways?
No, it was downhill coming home. It was uphill going to school, downhill coming home.
Thank goodness.
But
You
going
had
up,
all your steam in the morning.
How long a day were you there? Were you there like all day?
no, it was probably from about 8 o'clock to 3.
Okay. Like
That's
a normal
all day.
school day?
Yeah. We'd have a recess in the morning, have about a 15-minute recess in the morning and get out and play ball. And we made our balls and bats. We cut whittle bats, and the older guys would usually make them. They whittle them out of a cedar limb or hickory limb or something. And we'd take sometimes a walnut and start wrapping string around it and make a ball. You just keep wrapping string around it till the ball got up, that big. And I've played with a cedar bat and a string ball many times. And we'd play fox and dog at recess and we'd run all over them hills up there around the school. It's all wooded right around the school. Of course, there's a play yard out there where you enough to play ball and have basketball, goal. But we'd play fox and dog, choose up so many to be one or two to be fox and the others to be dogs, and the fox would get an early start running down through the wood and all, and then the dogs took off after. Oh boy. Had a outdoor privy. The boys' privy had I think it was a 3-holer. It had 3, you know, it's made out of wood, of course. And so, like an old outhouse.
Yeah.
And the girls had one that was apart from where the boys were. But some of the kids would ride mules to school and time out there, you know, till the school was out, and then they'd ride them home. Those that lived a good, some of them lived, you know, kids would come 3 or 4 miles walk.
Yeah.
To school.
Yeah. That's a long walk. I said just 1 mile is a long walk.
Yeah.
You'd have to leave
Now,
ahead of time.
my Aunt Kathleen Robbins, she had I think it's about a 1937 Chevrolet. And you know, cars back then had those wide running boards on the sides. And sometimes, rather than going up across the woods to the school, they lived on Joining Farm where my Uncle John Robbins lived. And Kathleen was his oldest daughter. She wasn't married. She was the school teacher. And she had that car, and I'd go over there and ride to school with her. But I liked a lot of times I liked to ride out on a running board. By the time she got to school, she'd have at least 4 kids, 2 on each side on the running board. You know, maybe 1 or 2 inside the car.
Like Gus Gregory. Gus Gregory coming home from work.
Huh?
Gus Gregory would come home from work.
Oh, yeah.
Windcrest.
Yeah.
In that MG.
Yeah.
And we'd all jump on those sideboards.
Yeah.
And ride the rest of the way up.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
so did the teacher teach, like, did she give, she would start you on an assignment, and then she would start the next grade on an assignment?
We'd start reading something, or have to start writing something. You had something, they'd have give you like a paragraph of stuff that after you learn to write, you start writing that off. Printing, you print it. It's all printing, started off printing. And then as you got on up to first, second, third grade, you start cursive.
Third here, so.
Third, I think it was.
Or it used to be.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Back when they taught it, they don't teach it anymore.
Start trying to write in cursive then. And, but mine was all printing since I was only 5.
Yeah.
I only went 1 year. Now, time I turned 6, we'd moved to Parsons. And that's the age you could start school in Parsons, so I had to repeat that grade. They didn't accept it because of my age. I had to go ahead and repeat that grade again.
What grade was that you had to repeat?
Huh?
What grade did you have to repeat?
Primer.
Okay, you had to like go again.
Yeah.
Was that the same thing as kindergarten?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'd say it was, yeah.
So you went as a 5-year-old, but it really didn't count. They just,
Well,
It was good
yeah, you had to
exposure.
go to primer. It counted.
yeah, but if you had to repeat
It didn't count as a 5-year-old. I had to repeat it as a 6-year-old.
that's what I'm saying.
Which was easy for me at a
yeah,
6-year-old.
I'm saying it just didn't count.
When I had repeated it, you know, I didn't have a problem. I'd been over most all of it before.
But they let you come
But
just because it's good exposure.
The reason I got to go as a 5-year-old was because my cousin was
A
the teacher,
connection. You had a
and
connection.
they let me go.
So did that make you a year behind? Age-wise, most of your people? You were still on,
Everybody down there
okay,
in Parsons that started at 6 years old.
okay,
So when I started down there, I was 6.
okay.
Yeah.
And
You just had a head start.
I just had a head start.
Made it easy for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the
Pre-K.
reason, like I say, the reason I got to do that, the county didn't, I mean, it wasn't open to 5-year-olds.
Right.
But, my cousin was the teacher.
Right.
And the principal up there knew the friends of the family. So there was in that area, there was probably about 3 or 4 or 5-year-old kids that they just let them come.
Were there any other redheads in your
And we
class?
didn't, and we didn't have to go every day if we didn't want to.
Yeah.
Were you the only redheaded child in the room? Were there other redheaded kids in the room?
I
You the only
don't
one?
know.
Huh?
I don't remember any other redheaded kids.
I just remember you told me you stuck out.
Yeah.
Your whole life, you stuck out with your redhead.
Well, when I got to Parsons, there was a redheaded girl in my class when I started there. Mary Frances Douglas. And later on in school, there were maybe 4 or 5 redheads in high school, all total. There wasn't many redheads around.
You
No,
were noticed.
Oh,
You were noticed now.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Did y'all go to school like probably didn't start until after Labor Day,
No.
Oh, no, it's
We
like
way
started-
September.
Yeah.
and then you probably got out.
For fair.
We got out for cotton picking.
Oh yeah.
Cotton picking and fair.
Yeah.
And they turn out for the fair. Let you turn out,
One day for the fair and like
Yeah.
a week or 2 for cotton picking.
yeah. Well, up there wasn't any fair. But in Parsons, they did turn out one day for the fair, yeah. But I'm trying to, I remember one, I guess it's Halloween. Kids took, I told you about them rigging up the bell in the study hall.
Yeah.
Well, some of them brought a cow up into the study hall on Halloween night and left the cow up there. And they went down to the ag shop and took all the chairs and put them up on top of the building. The ag shop was a little, kind of like one of these little, actually it was a prefabbed army barracks type building anyway that they'd used. So they came to school the next day and all the chairs in the ag shop sitting up on top of the roof. And there was a cow in the study hall and they had to clean up after it.
Who had to clean it up?
Huh?
Who had to clean it up? Who cleaned it up?
Yeah, I don't know who cleaned it
They
up.
find
I
out who did it?
wasn't a party to any of it. I just
Do
remember.
you know if they caught the ones that did it? Did they catch them?
If they did, I don't ever hear them doing anything about it. I don't even remember who did it.
Did you ever pull any of those kind of stunts at school?
Any kind of stunts.
Like those kinds of pranks? Pranks or stunts like that? Did you ever do any of that stuff at school?
He looks guilty.
I've taken off from school.
Oh.
We'd go to school and left school and, once and hitchhiked, me and Johnny Mac Bates. Johnny Mac ended up being a dentist in
Memphis.
Hornwall. Not Hornwall, Waynesboro. But anyway, Johnny Mac and I, we decided we didn't want to go to school that day. We went to school, then we left. And we decided we'd hitchhike up to Lexington, which was 15 miles away. And we did. we was going through a parking lot and he snagged his pants on a old, car that had a real fender on it and it had he caught it on the end of it. It tore his pants, so we had to go to the store and get some safety pins, pin his pants back. Well, we fiddled around up there and for about half the day, and then we decided we'd go back home, and we started hitchhiking back home. And one of the teachers from the school had been up to Henderson County to a meeting for something that school board up there, and they saw us.
Hitchhiking.
Well, the time we got home, everybody knew that we'd been to Lexington and was out hitchhiking. We got back home and went up to Johnny Max's mom's, Miss Lillian Bates. Miss Lillian treated me just like she did Johnny Mac. And she came out and met us in the front yard with a broom in her hand. And she said, boys, y'all better get over to school, the principal's looking for you. And she whacked both of us in the rear end of that broom and said, I mean, get there now. And she said, turned to me and she says, I'm sure that your mother and daddy knows by now that you've been out of school too. Boy, he got to school, Mr. Fred Long was the principal. We had to go to his office. We went to his office and he was up in the boys' restroom at that time. He'd been caught some boys up there smoking. And we had to sit there and wait. That was the bad part, having to sit there and think about it. And he came in, he pulled that paddle, he kept it on the wall behind his desk. He pulled that paddle over and kind of slapped it across his hand. He says, I'm thinking I may give you boys a paddling, but he says, I know that both of you gonna get one when you get home. And he says, you know, another thing I'm was thinking about was suspending you for a few days, but both of you are on the football team. And both of us on for first team too. And we were sophomores, I think, at the time. But anyway, and he says, so I'm not going to do that. And this was in the fall, of course, school starting, and we had to have the footballs going on. And the reason we came back early is we wanted to get back in time for football practice, which is always after school. Football practice started right after school. And we practiced a couple hours, you know. So we wanted to get back for football practice. That's the reason we came back so early.
But isn't that just typical small town?
Huh?
The news feature